Samsung has just released its latest line of foldable devices, that is the Z Fold 4 and the Z Flip 4. So for today, let's take a walk down memory lane to see how the line has actually evolved over time and to ask the question, have we reached peak foldable smartphone? Hey, what up? It's your boy MobbJustice back again with another video, and for today we get into the latest set of devices out of Samsung. That is their latest foldables, Z Flip 4 and Z Fold 4. Now this is the Q3 release cycle. We tend to see Samsung having a couple of events through the year, usually the S range, and then now we have foldables, and then usually around this time, this is when we would have expected the Note, but that one sort of hangs in the balance. But right now, this is Samsung's time, and then next month we are likely, based on history, to see the next line of iPhones coming out. As always, this video is brought to you by the team over at Lion Media. Head on over to check out some of the crispiest photo, video, and audio content. That's www.lionmedia.com. Head on over, check it out, and just see what the team can do for you. So there were four major announcements that were made on the day. As we've already highlighted, you have your Z Fold 4, that is the foldable device, as well as the Z Flip, more the clamshell foldable, and then you had your Galaxy Buds 2 Pro, as well as the Galaxy Watch 5. Now usually in these videos you sort of give thoughts around the product release, but instead of getting into the specific devices themselves, I wanted to specifically look at the state of the foldables market. Right now, Samsung really seems to be dominating because for a long time people have been asking if we had reached peak smartphone, because at the end of the day, your traditional smartphones are still just a slab of glass, rectangular, and for a long time that formula hasn't changed. And then Samsung comes along and introduces some new form factors, yes, hearkening to the early 2000s, some of the foldables from back then, but still putting a new spin and actually putting new life into the smartphone space. So the question now is, where are we now, and have we reached the peak, or is there more innovation that's to come? To illustrate the way that I'm thinking around the foldables market, I wanted to take a look at what's called the product life cycle. This is a graph that tends to be shown in business school, particularly around marketing type of classes. It basically shows that when you have a new product, a new device category, whatever it is, it usually goes through four main stages: your introduction, your growth phase, plateau, and then likely a bit of a drop off at the end when the product then gets taken off the shelves. To start off with the introduction, we go back to 2019. That's when Galaxy released the first Galaxy Fold. Back then it wasn't the Z Fold, but it was the Galaxy Fold. It was a new device, and I remember at the time, anyone who's followed the channel from the early days knows that I was at one of the big launch events from that year, but in South Africa, and we got to see prototypes of the first Galaxy Fold before it actually went on sale, and it was really amazing at the time seeing what was there. Different form factor, particularly with the flexing screen as well as that hinge, and it was good hardware, revolutionary some might say, but still it was fragile. Moving on to the growth phase of our graph, and I'd say that the move from the Galaxy Fold to the Z Fold 2 is probably when we saw the biggest jump in terms of the development of the line from Galaxy. Firstly, they went in and they fixed some of the issues that people had been facing with the hinge around the first one, as well as some of the durability issues, smaller air gaps that people had, and also just refining the form factor. You will remember that now there was a taller screen on the front, and then now you also changed up the way that the inside cameras and all of that, were working. It was no longer just a proof of concept type of device. It was now mainstream. And this was also the first year that we got the Z Flip. As much as we say Z Flip 4, we need to remember that this is only the third generation of that specific device. Up next in the product life cycle is what's called a plateau. That's when a market matures. That's when a device category matures. And I think at the moment Samsung has pretty much figured out its formula when it comes to foldables. One could argue that right now we find ourselves in a bit of a mature phase, or at least a plateau of some sort, because when you look at the jump from the second generation to the third generation, that was more of an evolution. And then now we see that jump, the latest jump, going from the Z Fold 3 and Z Flip 3 over to the fourth generation. And for the most part, these devices look pretty much the same, but with small improvements, here and there, thinner bezels, they've sort of shrunk down the size of the phone. It's no longer as long and tall as it was. All of that, great, but it's more evolutionary than revolutionary. And I think that's where you see more of a refinement from Samsung's side. And that move is pretty much what we've seen from Samsung when you look at some of its other lines. Think about the move from the S20 to the S21 and now the S22 line. Yes, when you look at the S22 Ultra, they have, colored outside of the lines a little bit, but for the most part, you could literally see the evolution in those devices. And included in all that, Samsung has also refined the One UI, that is their software experience when it comes to foldables. The latest one, now has a dock, where you can have your apps, on the folding device. You can now see, pictures using outside screens, all of that stuff. They're now really creating a different software experience that's now more refined. It was always there, but in the first one, you could see they were wondering how to actually use the foldables with their software, and now they've gotten to a great point. So now the real question is, does this mean we have reached peak foldable? Samsung, as I said, they've figured out their formula. And the problem in the market right now is that you have challenging and competing foldables. We've spoken before about Huawei's foldables devices, as well as Oppo. They have some great devices, and people are actually looking at the Oppo foldables and actually saying that when you look at what Samsung has done with the Z Fold 4, sort of shortening the phone, etc., that's taking influence from what Oppo has done. But neither Oppo nor Huawei or the other foldable manufacturers, think of Motorola, the reboot of the Razr, has been able to gain as much mainstream adoption as Samsung has had, particularly on the Z Flip side. So going forward, for now, we do seem to be in this plateau stage, and it will be good to see what other things people can do when it comes to foldables. I'd really like the way that Huawei had attacked the foldables market. They weren't, clamping, you were sort of folding outwards, which I thought was really great at the time. And we've seen other concepts where people, having fully wrapping screens, all around the device. So all of those things, we wait to see how they go. But for now, Samsung has captured the market, and whatever influences come, when it comes to your foldables, will have to do with how mainstream other manufacturers can get their devices to be. So that's been it for this, quick video, a bit of a different take. But I think every once in a while we do need to take a look at where we are in the market. 2019, is already 3.5 years ago from the first launch of the Galaxy Fold, and now we are at the fourth generation. How far have we come? Where are we in that product life cycle? Really hope that as much as we are in a plateau stage, I hope we're not going to be seeing a drop off anytime soon. As I said, challenger manufacturers, let's see what happens in the space. Hopefully we can get more players to actually come in and give Samsung a run for their money. You guys can let me know what you think of this video. Are you a fan of the foldables, or are you more into the traditional smartphone type of experience? Were you a clamshell or foldables person in the early 2000s and you're happy to see the return of this form factor, or do you think that all of this is useless and that we should just be focusing on other things, such as smartwatches, electric vehicles, and the like? You guys can let me know what you think, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.
This is Muffs Too Much, and you're watching MobbJustice TV. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter. We're there on YouTube. Thank you for watching our video. Subscribe.
No.